Hello and welcome to Huptech Talks. This podcast is brought to you by Huptech Web team. This show covers the latest global digital marketing and e-commerce insights from certified experts. Are you looking for opportunities to sharpen their skills? Huptech Talk have the route. Let's accomplish together. Hello guys. Today is International Podcast Day and we are dedicating this episode to the power of podcast. I'm your host Rishi and joining me today are my co-host Yash and Komal from the Huptech Web team. We will be discussing the origin of this epic day, podcast history, insights, and some massive benefits of podcasting. So let's dive deeper into the world of podcasting. So guys, International Podcast Day dedicate September 30 to celebrate the growing industry of podcasts and the technology surrounding it. Steve Lee, the founder of Modern Life Network, created International Podcast Day in 2014 to promote podcasting as an entertainment and educational medium. There are over 1,500 national days. We didn't want to miss this one as podcasts have become a significant part of our day-to-day life. Now let's dig deeper into the roots of podcasting in the simple words of a simple man. The most common question that non-technical connection have asked me is what is podcast? So let's begin with the name and how it come to the existence. Podcast, in a simple words, a combination of the word iPod and broadcast. The term podcasting was first suggested by the columnist of BBC who invented it in early February 2004 while writing an article. Around the world, people listen to their favorite podcasts to keep up with the latest news, technology, entertainment, and information. So now question coming in your mind, what makes podcast different from a simple audio file, right? Here is the answer. Audio file and a podcast episode are technically same. If you download a podcast, you will feel it's audio file, right? The difference comes when you add the option to subscribe to the series of your audio file. So if you use podcast hosting services to allow people to subscribe to your series of audio recordings, then you suddenly turn them from a simple audio file into the fully functional podcast. And podcasts can be streamed on multiple platforms like Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, or the platform which you are listening right now. So guys, podcasts have many types and layers similar to a burger. So let's peel the layer one by one and rediscover some type of podcast.
Yes, exactly. I totally agree that podcast being similarly layered as a burger, as it does have many layers and types, which is what I think it makes podcast more interesting. Some of my favorite types of podcast are interview podcast, solo podcast, and definitely storytelling podcast. Let me tell you why I like these three among all the types. So let's talk about the interview podcast first. As the name would suggest, this is where you interview a different guest each week on your show. The reason behind I like this is it opens your show up to a new audience. Because if your guest shares your episode across their social media profile, your podcast will reach to a wider audience. And also, not just a wider audience, but it will increase your connections too. Because you have to invite different personalities each week. So ultimately your connections will improve. You learn a lot from them. You spend a quality of time with creative minds. So it will help you to improve yourself too. Also, there are some disadvantages. Like you have to work according to someone's schedule. You have to manage new guests each week. Maybe you have to do research instead of them. But it's all acceptable because they are also sharing their values via your podcast. The second one is a solo podcast. This is a fairly common type of podcast and it's often used by people who have expertise in a certain area. The setup is just you, your microphone, and your audience listening on the other hand. And the reason why I like this is it just need you and your knowledge. Also, editing part will be easier. It will create more impact on your audience. And it's a great way to build your personal brand. And the third one, and my favorite is the storytelling podcast. As a social media specialist and a content creator, I know the importance of storytelling in any content. So I always include this storytelling part in my every podcast. And yes, this one is some different type of podcast. So I'm not going to cover any stories in this one. But yes, you guys can listen that in our previous podcast. I will attach all the links with this episode. So if you guys want to check that, you can check it just after complete this one. And also study says that storytelling boosts your conversion by 30% when it used to answer your customer's question. So let's go through some podcast insights. A common question is, how many podcasts are there? And most of the data out there is outdated. But we have an accurate source, podcastinsight.com, that shows accurate numbers, and it's currently over 1 million. There are also over 30 million episodes as of September 2020. The top 5 countries that listen to a podcast most are South Korea, Spain, Sweden, Australia and USA. South Korea leads the world in the percentage of people who have listened to a podcast in the past month with 58%. So again, question is, which industry is using podcast more? Business to consumer and business to employee. Big and small companies both are embracing podcast. They'll use podcast to connect, communicate and engage effectively with their customers, partners, vendors, distributors and employees. So moving on, the podcast industry has grown over the years and it's still thriving in 2020. But what makes it so popular?
Yash, that's correct. This industry is thriving rapidly, and I think what makes it so popular is that it allows people to multitask. You can listen to a podcast and get information on your favorite topic while doing your daily chores such as driving, cooking, or baking. This is the easiest way to catch up on the latest news and events. It is entertaining, it is constantly evolving and growing. In the past year, I have seen many TV shows that are based on podcasts. So I think overall podcast adaptations will also grow in numbers as well. There are already some exciting stories that you did not expect to be based on a podcast. For example, a TV show named Dirty John, which is available on Netflix and based on a podcast of the same name. And it got a bunch of positive reviews. Soon after that, HBO joined the race for the same. Podcast statistics and reports show that this medium is exploding in many countries with more and more listeners each year. So I think it's well-earned popularity. Learning on the go. This is how podcasts can be summed up in short. Well-conceived podcasts are an intimate way to deliver and produce content to build ongoing relationship with your clients, employees and audience. So why not share all this information with your audience in form of just images, videos and text? Because the human voice connects with people in a way that written words cannot. When people listen to your podcast, they get a better sense of your personality. So this gives an advantage of creating intimacy and impression on your audience. So if you are thinking of creating your own podcast, you should consider these top benefits first. Number 1, podcasts are convenient and easy to consume. You can listen to podcasts anytime, anywhere. It attracts leads, creates authority in your field. It helps to build influence. You can promote your products and services on it for free. You can connect with industry experts and grow your network. People are more likely to want to do business with you, knowing that you host your own show. A successful show can lead to unexpected streams of revenue. So this is it for today, guys. Thank you listeners for participating and engaging mentally. Now take some actions, apply these insights to your business and make a difference for people. We will be back soon with more real-time marketing insights, so make sure to leave a like and tell us in the comment section what topic you want us to cover next. Until then, stay tuned with Huptech Talks.